For our first garden dish hack, I wanted to create a garden dish using some river rocks and some succulents from Dollar Tree. It turned out so pretty. I'm just kidding, people. That's not a hack. Today I'm sharing 4 different ways you can hack these garden dishes on up to create your own DIY decor. Now, one would think you would find these little dishes in the fairy garden section. However, I found mine right next to the frames, and I grabbed a bunch. For this wall decor set, we're going to need two of these garden dishes. And I'm going to paint it up white using DIY's Paint in the White Swan. I have a link down in the description box if you're interested in grabbing your own. Honestly, grab whatever paint you have that is going to stick to plastic. I have a strong faith in this stuff. You could use regular chalk paint if you got some Waverly laying around, or a nice multi-surface will do the trick. Just make sure it's gonna definitely stick to some plastic. I put 2 coats of paint on these little gems, and I did the front and the back just to make sure in case anybody looked around the side they didn't see shiny plastic. You know what I'm saying? Then I recently found these beauties at my local Dollar Tree. Well, not necessarily my local one. I gotta drive a little bit to that one. And I've definitely seen like the wall floral pieces, you know what I mean? But I don't recall seeing the ones with these gold trim bits. So I grabbed a couple. And just in case you're ever wondering where I pick up things, I do have a browsing channel called Browse with Brandy. I keep a link down in the description box if you ever want to hang out with me and see where I purchase some things or different deals that I get. I bring you along with me each week. It has been my experience that these little stickers slowly peel up after you attach them to things. So I waited a couple minutes and sure enough, they started peeling up off of our little dish here that we painted. I decided, let's grab some Mod Podge and slap it on down over top of this to ensure that our stickers are not going to come off of our dishes here. I'm going to be using a little foam brush, which is not something that I do very often, and I actually get comments about this. So I want to kind of share this little tip with you guys. See the foam? It will eventually, as you're dipping it in sealer and then smooshing it on a project, slowly but surely start to wear. And with that wear, that means just like with a paintbrush and you will get bristles and things, your sponge will fall apart. Only the sponge is harder to peel out of a sealer than just grabbing a piece of a bristle off of a brush. So I do not use these very often, and I also make sure that if I am going to use these, I don't use them with a poly. I just use them with some Mod Podge and on small projects just like this. I decided these pieces need a little something something, so I busted out my Dixie Belle Gold Gildan Wax and put a little bit on my finger and then smooshed it right around the rim. I used some little sticky pieces to attach these to the wall. You could certainly use some glue and attach little jute hangers on the back or whatever to be able to put these on your wall. I think these turn out absolutely stunning, and you would never know they came from the Dollar Tree. I got a cut for some real footage real quick. Let me tell y'all something. This sucker has been charging since before Christmas, and I guess the battery is just bleh. It will not, it figures like I now need a new battery. It just, you know, why today when I start filming? Did it have to do me like this? For the rest of the video, I'm going to be calling on Tacky Glue for its help to be able to attach everything. Starting with these little snowman pieces so we can create an extremely high-end looking riser. I actually got this idea from Sammy over at Unicorn Dust Designs. If you flip these suckers upside down, smoosh a little bit of glue right on the bottom of them and attach them to pretty much anything, you can get a really high-end looking riser. Now we're gonna have to let this sit, and by letting it sit, I mean also grabbing some stuff to weigh it down so this way that tacky glue gets a pretty good hold. I went to Home Depot and picked up this beautiful metallic silver spray paint for just a little over $6. Now spray paint however you want, people. I'm flipping mine upside down and then I'm gonna do the top. And for my ASMR lovers, I got your back. This would look absolutely stunning in a bathroom with some decorative soaps, or in a bedroom holding some jewelry. It is so stunning. I used a little LED light here and wrapped some Dollar Tree's metal lace around it with some river rocks, and it's simply perfection to me. For this tiered tray, we're going to need just one of these garden dishes and a center. Now you could use a candle holder, that would be just fine. I had this little 3-piece of dice from Dollar Tree and I thought, let's put this to some good use. We're going to put this in the center here. And this is one of Dollar Tree's little plates. These come in a pack of a couple. I don't remember how many was in there. I'm going to use tacky glue for the adhesive because my glue gun took a crap on me, but that's neither here nor there. Smoosh your tacky glue in here, and honestly the hot glue is not going to do me any justice in the long run, so it's good to have that good hold. And we're just gonna put some things on this, let it sit to the side for a couple hours, and come back and visit. There are a bunch of ways to create some texture, and I feel like I've done a lot of them, except for this one. I could not wait to get my hands on this. However, I could wait to pay the $16.98 price tag. I was not happy about that, but I sucked it up, grabbed it anyway, and brought it on home. Now this stuff it exploded out this tiny hole. I was not anticipating this stuff just came barreling out of the hole. And unfortunately, people, this hack is a complete bust. So it is still, okay, this is the next day. I let this dry a full 24 hours, and I don't know if it's just because it's plastic or what, but it's even coming off right there on the wood. So it's not working. Unfortunately, I was really hoping to have an awesome result with this stone texture, but it's just not. It's a little bit sticking on this one, but it's still coming off. So I mean, I just wouldn't recommend using this stone texture on here. I was going to cut it out and just do, 3, but you know what? I like being real with y'all. I don't want nobody else wasting their money. That spray paint is expensive. So be mindful if you go to get it, because it's absolutely just, and I popped this off. It's absolutely not sticking to this. If I press hard, it just keeps, and like I said, it's the next day. It's been 24 hours. It recommends 5 to 6 on the spray paint. So, womp womp. We are going to create a faux balloon centerpiece for this DIY. We're going to need to set these dishes right on top of each other, just like this. When I delivered my daughter, one of my best friends gave me this little balloon that said, "It's a girl in a vase." I decided to take to the internet to see if I could show you exactly what I'm talking about, and unfortunately, these were the closest that I could find. But the actual piece she gave me, the balloon is attached to the vase. So we're going to roll on with this and attach our 2 garden dishes together just like this. Now you're going to need some patience, my friends, because getting them exactly on top of each other is going to be key for this to actually work. And I promise you, you can do it. I did it. I put a little bit of tacky glue all around the edge first to start. I then placed them gingerly together, and then took my heat gun, dried it just a little bit, and then took more of the tacky glue around the edge and started using my finger to spread it. And I did really thin layers. And I did that because the thicker the layer, the longer it takes to dry. And this stuff actually adheres fairly quickly if you do thin layers. I let this dry for a couple hours and then grab some of DIY's paints in the white swan color and put one thin coat on here. It doesn't have to be perfect. We are decoupaging this and we just need a background so our design pops and our Mod Podge sticks. We are going to be using one of my new releases called A Period in Time from my TDS Decoupage line. I wanted to go hard steampunk on this design, mostly because of the base that we're going to be using. I can't wait to share that with you. This design came out super beautiful. There are tons of papers to check out if you're interested. They're at thediystruggle.com. Links are down in the description box. And do not feel like you have to use this decoupage paper at all. I even think this would be an awesome idea for a wedding or a birthday party. You could take pictures, have them blown up and printed out on paper and decoupaged onto your own faux balloon as a centerpiece, and add whatever florals or vase that you want to pop them on into. For the video, I want it to go hard steampunk, and I hope you guys enjoy the idea. To tear our paper, we're going to grab a paintbrush. Use whatever you want. If you want to use your hands, feel free. I'm adding a little bit of water to this joint and giving our balloon some girth, okay, giving a little wide berth over here, so this way we have some extra to wrap around. We want it to come as close to the center on each side as possible, and I'm going to trace out two designs, one for the front, one for the back, so this way, no matter what way I'm setting it, we will see a beautiful design. And any gaps, we're gonna pop some antique Waverly wax in there. I'm gonna share that with you in just a minute. So all my brandy, I can't do that. I'm coming for you, okay? Listen, you got this. I'm gonna show you how to fill in the gaps, all the things, okay? You ready? Let's get started. I'm busting out the Mod Podge for this. Use whatever medium you wanna use. I'm also gonna be using a sponge and a little bit of water on a spray bottle, or in a spray bottle, a little spritzy. Okay, to apply, I'm using some Mod Podge brushes. These are down in my Amazon affiliate link in the description box for anyone that's interested. And I'm putting a thin layer on and spraying the back of our paper just a little bit. I'm not saturating it. We don't want to tear the paper, okay? And then I'm just taking my fingers to press it down to make sure everything is on here and as non-wrinkled up. Honestly, I wasn't worried about if it had some wrinkles in there, but you know, balloons kind of have them around the edges anyway. But I was very patient with this, took my time. And people, if you're new to this and you think it's supposed to go smoothly, this balloon took me about 2 hours to make. This is my happy place and I love to decoupage, but people, believe me when I say crafts piss me off too sometimes, depending on what I'm doing. Just walk away and come back, okay? Especially if you're learning. Doing this, it can be extremely tedious. Do not feel discouraged. Also, this sponge I'm using, it is a dry sponge. It is not wet. I get asked that all the time if I'm using a wet or a dry sponge. It's dry. It helps to just press things down, kind of like some cling wrap, and I don't have to worry about this getting saturated or anything like that. Sometimes my cling wrap gets a little crusty musty too quickly. Sponges work well for me. If you're not familiar with them, not a big deal. Use whatever works best for you to flatten your paper that you're trying to decoupage. When that side was dry, I then came back in with a little bit of water and another paintbrush and just trimmed around the excess. You could leave this and then kind of fold each piece over as you go. It's not a big deal. This is just how I chose to create this piece. Then I applied the same method on the other side with the other paper that I trimmed out. When you get to the point where you have both sides applied, let it dry and then come in with some little bits of paper and just fill in the gaps. Try not to overlay them too much so they just kind of meet up in the creases. And then once this dries, you're going to come back in with some antique Waverly wax. You can put that on a little brush. I just applied some on a sponge here and I just tapped all over the extra little gaps. And I even put some on top of our paper, so this way everything just blended in together. I have this little antique vintage cup that this thing looks perfect in, and at the time I was like, I knew it was going to be perfect, but I wasn't sure how perfect. And I took this floral foam, cut it down to size, and then cut like a V in the top of the floral foam. So once I put my tacky glue on here, I knew that our balloon was going to stick perfectly inside this V. Now it's a little heavy, okay, it's a little top heavy, so you know, it might tip, but it's on here and I'm happy with it. I added some extra little bits. Obviously, use whatever vase you want, use whatever florals you want, and ta-da! As always, thank you so much for hanging out with me today, people, and until next time, bye!